My name is Rob Alexander. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's event. We're looking forward to hearing what our special guests have to say about our real estate forecast. They'll be suitably introduced shortly. We'd also like to thank our partner organizations for this event, REA and TREB. I'd also like to take this moment to mention BEDAR's partnership with Redwood Park Communities. There was more information about them back at the installation meeting back in December. Redwood is a local organization who provides safe, affordable housing to members of our community. In 2017, BEDAR will be focusing on community connections and social responsibility, with a really strong focus on affordable housing. By partnering with organizations such as Redwood, we'll be making a positive impact on this important issue. There are many, many activities coming up at BEDAR. In March, we have 2 lunch and earnings, one on understanding impact assessments, the other on prepping for everyone's favorite, your taxes. BEDAR will be also hosting an accredited senior agent designation course with registration details forthcoming soon. In April, we have Authenticate, Educate, and Activate month for our switch to Stratus. Again, more information to come soon. More lunch and earns, another designation course, and an NCAP will follow in coming months. So there's lots of good things coming up, as you can probably see on the slides. Now, Mayor Jeff Leland wanted to attend this event today, but was otherwise engaged. He's always been a great supporter of the housing industry in our city and region, and sends his greetings, which read as follows. I quote, Mr. President and members of the Barrie District Association of Realtors, well, we're certainly in uncharted waters. The real estate boom across the Greater Golden Horseshoe may be at the strongest anywhere in Barrie, with a highly constrained supply and unprecedented demand driving price increases unlike anything we've ever seen. While it's clearly an unusual time for the industry, the lack of supply problem is becoming acute and is also causing an extreme impact on affordability, with many families and other middle-income households now looking to surrounding towns and communities because Barrie is too expensive. New supply will come to the market in the annexed lands beginning in late 2017 or early 2018. And the city has, of course, seen a record number of planning applications for intensification developments, especially mid-rise and townhome product. It's my hope this new supply will begin to normalize the market by the end of 2017 or early 2018. Fundamentally, the demand for real estate in Barrie is due to our economic and locational strength. We're the capital of Central Ontario, the 3rd most entrepreneurial city in Canada, according to the Financial Post, and one of the safest cities in Canada, according to StatsCan. We will continue to focus on the economic fundamentals as we move forward in Barrie. And while I can't be with you today, I really appreciate your association's ongoing work to help build a better community. In particular, your support for charities like Redwood Park. Your industry is a huge part of what makes Barrie the premier waterfront community in Canada. Thank you, Mayor Leland. We have some great speakers today, including Tim Hudak, our new REA CEO. After a distinguished 21 years of public service in the Ontario legislature, making the move to REA was a perfect fit for Tim. As Minister of Consumer and Business Services, he worked closely with REA to write the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act of 2002, as well as a long list of pro-home ownership and pro-realtor policies. Since joining REA in December, Tim has focused on high-impact advocacy on behalf of realtors and consumers and the delivery of quality services to members. Tim, thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And please join me in welcoming Tim Hudak, REA CEO, and the moderator.
So Rob, thank you very much. I'm just going to have some opening remarks about where we're headed today, and then each of our guest speakers will speak. I ask a few questions, and then if it's good with you guys, we'll open the floor for questions from all of those here, about 10 after 10. So thanks for your patience. I do apologize. I got caught in the corner. It's just 21 years of public service. I see a microphone or a camera. I just got in front of it. So thanks for your understanding. I want to recognize a few folks. First, President Rob Alexander and the BDAR board and Julia. Congratulations. I know this is the first of the REALTalk events that you want to do. I think it's a beautiful place. You got a packed crowd. So thank you very much for your leadership in setting up today's event. And I also want to recognize past President Michael Douglas, who has put his name forward for our provincial board and the Ontario Real Estate Association. Michael, great to see you. Thank you for your leadership here in Barrie and across the province. And last quick intro, a longtime colleague of mine and former city councillor here in Barrie, Rod Jackson. Rod, great to see you. Thanks for being here too. So look, nothing makes a realtor happier than helping a family connect and buy the dream home. That chance to put the sold sign on that property. My wife and I, Debbie and I, just bought a house in Toronto in that hot real estate market back in December with my new job. It's in Toronto. And just, I remember that feeling too. The realtor gave us the sold sign, we put it on the sign for how great that felt. And I posted some pictures of this too, of my daughters dancing in the house. Like it was empty, there was no furniture there yet, the dining room with the window, and my 9-year-old and 2.5 were dancing. They're so excited to get in the house. So my 9-year-old says to me, you know what, Dad, now I understand what your new job is. You're going to help the people who help other kids get new houses like us. It's just really sweet. And that's just part of our nature as Canadians, and that's how we really define when you've made it in the middle class, when you buy your own home. And I know you love doing that every day, particularly that young family or the recent graduate who gets the keys to their first home and can call their own. Maybe gets out of mom and dad's basement or that shoebox in an apartment and they got some space finally they can invest in. I believe it changes us as human beings. But whereas I got my first home in my early 30s, most of my friends late 20s, early 30s, I know all of you worry a lot, is that Canadian dream of home ownership slipping away for the next generation? Is the next generation, the millennials will be generation screwed when it comes to home ownership? I know you care about that. You want to see that change. It's one of the topics we'll discuss. Very importantly for Barrie, we're going to start out too talking about what's the state of the market across Canada, Ontario, and expectations for Barrie and district. And then we're going to talk about what's driving those changes and give a preview from our guests, the economists, who look at these numbers each and every day on what 2017 is going to look like. And lastly, what are the solutions to make sure that the story I just told you is going to happen more often for young families in Barrie and across our province? Does that sound okay as a program? Super. So our first guest I'm going to bring up for initial remarks, and then we'll have Jason come up after that, but I'll introduce one at a time. So Andres Carbacho Burgos is an economist with Moody's Analytics, which, as you know, is a world leader in data analytics. We're really lucky because Andres actually heads up their real estate division. So he looks at the numbers each and every day. He's a former professor at Texas State University, and he's going to give us an outline of what he sees for Canada, Ontario, and then Barrie District in particular, and then happy to answer questions later on. So folks, Andres Carbacho Burgos of Moody's.
Thanks, Tim. You got the description of Moody's Analytics correct. I'm an economist who focuses on housing, which means I look at the broad economic picture before I look at the overall housing market situation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the overall Canada situation and how that applies to the Greater Toronto region, and then right at the end I'll get to Barrie. I'll leave most of the details on Barrie to Jason. Now, what we do in Moody's Analytics is we, first of all, we just
are a vacuum cleaner that absorbs all the available economic data that we can. And we turn that data into analysis and into forecasts. And also, we do an additional function, which is if there's no actual raw data from Statistics Canada or from the CMHC or from any other economic source, we do the best we can to generate estimates for particular metro areas, especially the smaller Canada metro areas such as Barrie. And once we do that, of course, we take all of the data, both the raw numbers and the estimates, and we generate a forecast, and we generate an analysis based on that forecast. We write about mainly the big guys, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, but we do generate forecasts for every single Canadian metro area, Barrie included. So that's roughly what I do, and I cover residential construction, home sales, but most especially the house price forecast, because the house price forecast is what both banks and realtors look at. Okay. Now, with regards to Canada and the overall broad situation, what strikes me over the past year looking at Canada, whenever I broke up Canada regionally, there was a more stark divergence than I had ever seen before. You had regions which were either going through the blues, either demographically or because of bad industry outcomes, such as either the Atlantic provinces or Alberta, which has been handicapped for the last 2 years by low energy prices. In contrast to that, you have a couple of the big urban metro areas going gangbusters. Of course, Vancouver is the one that everybody's heard about, including the United States. But of course, Toronto is right up there with them, and Toronto is dragging up house prices in the nearby metro areas, Oshawa, Hamilton, and yes, Barrie, Ontario. What's the cause of this divergence? There are a lot of things. One of the things we do is, in our forecast for house prices, is we look at the underlying economic fundamentals that determines the long-term trend in house prices. So for any geography, we look at per capita income or median family income. That's even better. We look at recent population growth, and we add in some additional supply factors, such as the price of land and new homes, and some broad wealth measures, such as the Canada Stock Market Indicator. Based on those, we come up with a trend house price, which is what the price would look like if it reflected economic fundamentals. Of course, like all economic theories, it doesn't work as simply or as smoothly as that. We usually get strong divergences from the trend house price. Vancouver, Toronto, and yes, Barrie. One of the slides I have here, and I've included several slides for your consumption based on the data that we process. One of the slides here shows the rate of overvaluation for the metro areas in the Greater Toronto region, and they show that for every one of them, Barrie included, there's a significant upward deviation from the trend price. In other words, house prices are becoming overvalued. Mildly in Barrie, but in other places, in Toronto and in Vancouver, people were starting to go insane. So insane that several months ago, Vancouver passed the infamous transfer tax on sales of house prices to foreign residents. And of course, more relevant to here, back in October, the Department of Finance passed new mortgage lending rules. I'm sure you're all aware of the changes, but just to review the two biggest changes are extending the stress test to low loan-to-value mortgages as well as high loan-to-value ones, and of course putting additional limits on on low loan-to-value mortgages, including with regards to credit scores, maximum house prices, and duration of the repayment period. All of these changes were intended to reduce total mortgage originations, make it harder, and by doing so, to reduce house price pressure and to keep housing affordable for the greater Toronto region, of course, for Vancouver on the west coast, and for Canada housing in general. Now, I've read a lot of articles that criticize the measures taken by the Department of Finance. They say that in some cases it discriminates too much against people who would have been sound borrowers in any case, and it might bring about too rapid a slowdown in house prices. We haven't quite seen that yet. We've seen prices start to slow down in the Toronto region, not by very much. And of course, again, to mention Vancouver, which is the thing that most focuses Americans, you've seen an actual decline in house prices thanks to the transfer tax. But for the greater Toronto region, you've just barely seen any sort of slowdown in house prices yet. So maybe that's a good thing. What's definitely clear is that when you get this sort of divergence from trend house prices, when you have most of the regional housing markets becoming overvalued, something has to be done, because there are either of two things that are affecting house prices beyond fundamentals. And that is either you have wealth inflows, especially into Toronto proper, which are helping to drive up house prices, or you might have too much mortgage lending. So you could argue that maybe the Department of Finance took some of the wrong measures, but from my point of view, they definitely had to do something, because back south of the border, we've learned the hard way what happens when you don't take measures to restrain too much mortgage lending to too many people. And we're still trying to recover from that episode. Okay. Now, let me zero in briefly on Barrie before I turn it over to Tim and Jason. One of the things that strikes me when I look at regional maps of Canada, especially when I look at Eastern Canada, is there's a significant focus and divergence. You have the big three metro areas: Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. These are the ones that are leading in terms of being overpriced, in terms of economic fundamentals, and also in terms of the ratio of house prices to median family income. And that definitely shows off danger signs, and it tells residents of those big three metro areas maybe it's time to start looking for areas that are outside the metro area boundaries, either to work there or to commute in, and therefore to get better affordability for myself, because the local market in Toronto proper or in downtown Montreal is going insane. And that's what's been happening in Barrie over the past 10 or 20 years. Barrie isn't anywhere near as overpriced as Toronto or Montreal or Ottawa. And as a result, for about a decade, up to 2007, Barrie grew at a very rapid rate. Then, of course, along comes the global recession. Growth in Barrie slows down, but Barrie overall succeeds in still having good positive rate of job growth and having good house price growth, to the point now where Barrie is 20% overvalued according to Moody's Analytics metrics. In Toronto, it's closer to 40 or 50%, but it's still something of a worrying sign. So our forecast is we're still optimistic with regards to Barrie. We would say a lot depends on the ability of not just of the new mortgage lending rules, but more importantly, additions to the housing stock in starting to muffle or cushion some of this upward demand pressure, which is starting to make Barrie, just about as everywhere else in the Greater Toronto region, starting to make house prices overvalued. We're optimistic about household formation, in other words, the growth of new occupied homes in the Barrie district, and with that, we recently also upgraded our residential construction forecast. And surprise, surprise, just as we did that, of course, new apartment starts came up in Barrie, driving total housing starts back up. And of course, there's steady single-family construction taking place outside of the city of Barrie boundaries, but still in the Barrie census metro area. That's good news because it will help keep down house price growth. 4 or 5 months ago, we had very strong house price growth for Barrie, which was starting to worry me. But now that we upgraded our construction forecast, the house price growth looks much more moderate for Barrie. And as a result, that will help Barrie maintain its biggest and most important advantage, I think, which is its better affordability relative to Toronto and to Ontario in general. Right now, Barrie has a much lower ratio of house prices to estimated median family income, and if you're a good economist and if you're a good realtor, in fact, we economists tend to, with regards to house prices, we tend to fetishize affordability in terms of low prices relative to incomes. So that's a good thing. So it's good that house prices don't go gangbusters here in Barrie, even at the price of greater residential development and greater urbanization. In other words, a little more sprawl that keeps house prices from becoming overpriced. My mom lives in San Francisco, and believe me, we know what that feeling can get like. All right, thank you. I will turn it over to Tim and Jason to talk about the nitty-gritty of the housing market in Barrie itself. Thank you.